Have you ever noticed how the loudest voices in the room are often the ones who know the least? How someone with barely a grasp of a subject can speak with absolute certainty, while true experts hesitate, question themselves, and doubt? It's not arrogance, it's not stupidity, it's something far more insidious, a cognitive trap that captures millions without them ever knowing. The Dunning-Kruger effect reveals a disturbing truth about human consciousness. Incompetence doesn't just prevent us from succeeding, it blinds us to our own failure. The less you know, the less you realize you don't know. And the most dangerous part? You might be trapped in it right now, and you wouldn't even see it. So ask yourself, are you confident because you're competent, or are you confident because you lack the awareness to see how much you're missing? In 1999, two psychologists at Cornell University, David Dunning and Justin Kruger, stumbled upon something terrifying. They gave a group of people tests, logic, grammar, humor, and then asked them to estimate their own performance. What they discovered was shocking. Those who scored in the bottom quartile, the worst performers, believed they had done far better than they actually had. These people weren't just wrong, they were confidently, spectacularly wrong. One person who scored in the 12th percentile believed they were in the 62nd percentile. Think about that. Someone who performed worse than 88% of people believed they performed better than half. This wasn't an isolated mistake, this was a pattern, a systematic delusion. But why? Why does ignorance breed such certainty? Dunning and Kruger proposed something radical. They said that the skills required to be good at something are the exact same skills needed to recognize whether you're good at it. If you lack competence, you also lack the ability to recognize your own incompetence. It's a double curse. You're not just bad at the task, you're incapable of seeing that you're bad at it. Your ignorance makes you blind, and in that blindness, you construct an elaborate justification for your mistakes. You tell yourself you were right. You tell yourself everyone else is wrong. You become untouchable, not because you're brilliant, but because you lack the very tools to judge yourself accurately. This is the illusion of knowledge. It's the gap between what you know and what you think you know. And that gap is where the danger lives. Because the less you know, the wider that gap becomes. You see, knowledge isn't just information. It's awareness. It's the ability to see patterns, to understand complexity, to recognize nuance. And when you lack that, you mistake simplicity for clarity. You mistake ignorance for insight. You mistake confidence for correctness. The ancient Greeks had a word for this, amathia, the inability to learn because you think you already know. It's not stupidity, it's worse. It's ignorance fortified by arrogance, sealed off from correction, immune to evidence. And here's the cruelest part. The people trapped in this illusion are often the most convinced of their own brilliance. They are the loudest, the most certain, the most dismissive of doubt. Because doubt requires awareness. Doubt requires the metacognitive ability to step outside yourself and ask, am I wrong? And if you don't have that ability, you will never ask that question. You will never know what you don't know. You will remain forever trapped in the prison of your own incompetence, convinced that you are free. Let's talk about metacognition. It sounds technical, but it's simple. Metacognition is the ability to think about your own thinking. It's the capacity to step back and evaluate your own performance, to ask, how did I do? Where did I fail? What do I not understand? It's the mental mirror that lets you see yourself clearly. And without it, you are blind to your own flaws. This is the root of the Dunning-Kruger effect. Not stupidity, not laziness, metacognitive blindness, the inability to see yourself as you truly are. Here's the paradox. The more skilled you become at something, the more you develop metacognitive awareness. You start to see the complexity. You realize how much you don't know. You notice your mistakes. You become more critical of yourself. You doubt. And that doubt is a sign of competence. It means you've learned enough to understand the limits of your knowledge. But the unskilled, they see none of this. They look at a task and think it's simple. They make errors and don't notice. They perform poorly and walk away thinking they did well because they lack the very capacity to evaluate their own performance. This creates a cruel inversion. The people who are the least skilled are often the most confident, and the people who are the most skilled are often the least confident. Why? Because skilled people know how difficult the task truly is. They assume if it's hard for them, it must be hard for everyone. They underestimate themselves. Meanwhile, the unskilled assume that because the task seems easy to them, it must be easy for everyone. They overestimate themselves. Both are wrong, but in opposite directions. One group sees too much, the other sees too little. One drowns in awareness, the other floats on ignorance. Dunning-Kruger called this the dual burden of incompetence. You're burdened twice, first by your lack of skill, second by your inability to recognize that lack. The burden doesn't just hold you back, it hides itself from you. You cannot improve because you do not see the need to improve. You cannot learn because you believe you already know. This is why feedback often fails with low performers. You give them criticism and they dismiss it. You show them their errors and they rationalize them away. You point to evidence and they reject it. Not because they're stubborn, but because they genuinely cannot see what you're showing them. Their metacognitive blindness makes them immune to correction. And this is the tragedy. The very thing that could save them, awareness, is the thing they lack. They are prisoners who do not know they are imprisoned. They are lost but believe they know the way. And the more you try to help them, the more they resist, because in their minds they don't need help. They are already competent. They are already right. And you, the one trying to guide them, are the one who doesn't understand. So where does this leave us? What happens when people who cannot judge themselves are given power, influence, or a platform? What happens when incompetence isn't just a private failure, but a public force? We're about to find out. What do you think? Have you ever seen someone trapped in this blindness? Or worse, have you ever been that person? Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. We live in an age of infinite information. You can access the sum of human knowledge with a few taps on a screen. And yet, we are more confidently wrong than ever before. Why? Because information is not the same as understanding, and access is not the same as insight. The Dunning-Kruger effect has found its perfect breeding ground, the modern world. A world of social media, of instant opinions, of armchair experts who believe that reading a headline makes them informed. A world where everyone has a voice, but not everyone has the wisdom to know when they should stay silent. Look at social media, platforms designed to give everyone a megaphone. And what do we see? People confidently spreading misinformation. Conspiracy theorists with no evidence dismissing scientists. Political pundits with no expertise declaring themselves right while the world burns. These aren't trolls. These are people who genuinely believe they understand. They've read an article, they've watched a video, they've formed an opinion, and in their minds, that's enough. They don't see the complexity they're missing. They don't recognize the gaps in their reasoning. They are incompetent, and they are unaware of it. Recent research shows that using social media for news increases self-assessed knowledge, but not actual knowledge. People feel smarter, but they aren't. They confuse access with expertise. They mistake exposure with understanding. And the platforms reward this. The algorithms prioritize confidence over accuracy. The loudest voices get amplified. The most certain takes get the most engagement. And so the cycle continues. Incompetence spreads because it spreads confidently, and competence is drowned out because it hesitates, qualifies, admits uncertainty. Truth becomes a whisper, lies become a roar. And this isn't limited to the internet. It's everywhere. In politics, where candidates with no experience declare themselves fit to lead. In medicine, where patients Google their symptoms and argue with their doctors. In business, where overconfident leaders make catastrophic decisions because they cannot see their own blind spots. The Dunning-Kruger effect isn't just a psychological curiosity anymore. It's a societal force. It shapes elections. It influences public health. It drives economic collapse. And the most terrifying part, the people causing the damage don't know they're causing it. They think they're helping. They think they're right. They think they're the heroes of their own story. So why is this happening now? Why does it feel like incompetence is louder than ever? Because we've removed the barriers that once kept it in check. In the past, to share your opinion widely, you needed credentials, gatekeepers, or at least a printing press. Now, all you need is a phone. In the past, if you're wrong, only a few people would know. Now, if you're wrong, millions can amplify it before anyone has time to correct you. And in the past, shame or humility might have stopped you from speaking beyond your knowledge. Now, those virtues are seen as weaknesses. Confidence is celebrated. Doubt is mocked. Certainty is power. And so we have created a world where the least knowledgeable are the most vocal, and the most knowledgeable are the most ignored. This is the modern epidemic, not a disease of the body, but a disease of the mind, a pandemic of unearned confidence, a plague of ignorance that doesn't know it's ignorant. And the worst part? We're all susceptible. Every single one of us has areas where we are incompetent. Every single one of us has blind spots we cannot see. The question is, do we have the humility to admit it? Or will we become part of the noise, part of the problem, part of the epidemic? Thank you for staying with me this far. I truly appreciate your time, but I need to tell you something. The best is yet to come. What you're about to hear next will challenge everything you think you know about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Stay with me. But what if I told you that everything we've discussed might be wrong? What if the Dunning-Kruger effect isn't a psychological truth at all, but a statistical illusion? For over 2 decades, the effect has been widely accepted. It's been cited thousands of times. It's become a cultural meme. But in recent years, a group of critics has emerged, armed with mathematics, and they're claiming that Dunning and Kruger were fooled, not by their subjects, but by their own data. The critics argue that the Dunning-Kruger effect is nothing more than a statistical artifact, a trick of regression to the mean. Here's the idea. When you measure someone's performance on a test and then ask them to estimate that performance, you're essentially using the same variable twice, once to rank them and once to compare their self-assessment. This creates what's called autocorrelation, a hidden loop in the data that produces the very pattern we see: low performers overestimating, high performers underestimating. The critics say that if you generate completely random data with no psychology involved, you'll still get the Dunning-Kruger curve. The effect doesn't require ignorance or metacognitive blindness. It just requires noise, measurement error, luck. In 2020, researchers Gilles Gignac and Marcin Zielinski published a paper arguing that the Dunning-Kruger effect is mostly a statistical artifact. They ran sophisticated tests and found no evidence of the metacognitive deficit that Dunning and Kruger claimed. Other mathematicians and data scientists have joined in, publishing critiques in top journals. They've shown that the same pattern emerges in simulations with zero human behavior involved. They've argued that regression to the mean explains everything, that the phenomenon isn't real, that it's a mirage created by bad methodology. So who's right? Is the Dunning-Kruger effect real, or have we been chasing a ghost? The truth, as always, is more complicated. Yes, there are statistical issues with how the original study was conducted. Yes, regression to the mean plays a role. Yes, the effect is smaller and more nuanced than pop culture suggests. But that doesn't mean it's entirely false. Even the critics admit that people overestimate and underestimate their abilities. The debate isn't about whether the pattern exists, it's about what causes the pattern. Is it psychology or is it math? Dunning himself has responded to the critics. He points out that the effect has been replicated in dozens of studies across different domains, medicine, aviation, chess, driving, politics. He notes that when researchers control for measurement error, the effect still persists. He argues that the statistical explanation doesn't account for the subjective experience of incompetence, the way people genuinely believe they're right even when they're demonstrably wrong. And he emphasizes that even if the mechanism is debated, practical reality remains. People with low skill often lack the insight to recognize it. So, where does that leave us? Perhaps the truth is this: the Dunning-Kruger effect is both real and misunderstood. Real in the sense that people do misjudge their abilities in predictable ways. Misunderstood in the sense that it's not about general stupidity, and it's not as simple as the dumb don't know they're dumb. It's about domain-specific incompetence. It's about the difficulty of self-assessment. It's about the fact that knowing something and knowing that you know something are two different skills. And sometimes math can look like psychology, and psychology can look like math, and the line between them is harder to draw than we'd like to admit. But here's what matters. Whether the mechanism is caused by metacognitive blindness or statistical noise, the outcome is the same. People overestimate themselves. They make decisions based on faulty self-assessments. They spread misinformation. They resist feedback. They fail to improve. And that's the danger, not the theory, the behavior, the consequences, the real-world harm that comes from misplaced confidence. So, maybe the debate about the mechanism is academic. Maybe what we need to focus on is the solution. And that brings us to the final question. How do we escape the trap? So if the Dunning-Kruger effect is real, or even if it's just a tendency we all share, how do we escape it? How do we recognize when we're trapped in false confidence? How do we develop genuine self-awareness without descending into paralysis, into imposter syndrome, into the crippling doubt that makes us afraid to act? The answer isn't simple, but it starts with a single realization. You don't know as much as you think you do, and neither do I, and neither does anyone. The first step is humility, not the false humility of self-deprecation, but the intellectual humility of admitting your limits. This is harder than it sounds, because humility requires you to sit with discomfort. It requires you to accept that you might be wrong, that your beliefs might be flawed, that your confidence might be unearned. And for most of us, that's terrifying. We build our identities around what we think we know. To admit ignorance feels like admitting failure, but it's not. It's the opposite. It's the beginning of wisdom. Socrates understood this 2,000 years ago. He said, "I know that I know nothing." And that wasn't despair, it was clarity. Because once you accept that you don't know, you can start learning. You can seek feedback. You can study deeply. You can question your assumptions. You can become comfortable with uncertainty. And that's the paradox. The more you admit you don't know, the more you actually learn. The less you pretend to be an expert, the closer you get to real expertise. So how do you cultivate this? Here are the strategies. First, seek criticism, not praise, not validation, criticism. Find people who will tell you the truth even when it hurts. People who are more skilled than you. People who will point out your blind spots. And when they do, don't defend yourself. Listen, absorb, reflect. Because the discomfort you feel in that moment is the sound of your brain resisting growth. Push through it. Second, test yourself. Don't rely on your feelings. Don't trust your intuition. Measure your performance objectively. Take tests. Compare yourself to standards, not to your own expectations. If you think you're good at something, prove it. And if you can't prove it, accept that you might not be as good as you think. Third, study deeply, not broadly, not superficially, deeply. The problem with most learning today is that it's shallow. You watch a video, you read an article, you feel informed, but you're not. Real understanding takes time, it takes repetition, it takes struggle. And the deeper you go, the more you realize how much there is to know. That realization is the antidote to false confidence. Fourth, embrace uncertainty. Get comfortable saying, "I don't know." Get comfortable admitting, "I might be wrong." These aren't weaknesses, they're strengths. They're signs of a mind that's flexible, curious, open to change, and they're the first step toward escaping the trap of unearned certainty. But here is the final truth. Even if you do all of this, you will still fall into the Dunning-Kruger effect at some point, because we all have blind spots. We all have areas where we're incompetent. We all have moments where we think we know more than we do. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. The goal is to catch yourself when you're drifting into false confidence, to recognize the signs, to ask the hard questions, to seek the truth even when it's uncomfortable, and to remember that the loudest voice in the room is not always the smartest. Sometimes it's just the most ignorant. So the next time you feel absolutely certain about something, pause. Ask yourself, am I certain because I know? Or am I certain because I don't know enough to see what I'm missing? That question might save you from catastrophe. It might save you from embarrassment. It might save you from becoming the very thing you've been learning about. Someone trapped in the illusion of knowledge, blind to their own incompetence, confident in their own ignorance. And if there's one thing this effect teaches us, it's this: true knowledge begins with admitting how little you know. That might be the most competent position of all. So now you've seen it, the invisible prison of incompetence, the inner plumbing of metacognition that affects us all in different ways, the fine line between confidence and delusion. But here's the real question: what will you do with this knowledge? Will you examine your own blind spots? Will you seek feedback from those who see what you cannot? Or will you dismiss this as something that happens to others, never to you? Because that dismissal, that certainty that you're immune, is the first sign of the effect itself. I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Have you ever caught yourself trapped in the Dunning-Kruger effect? Or have you witnessed it in someone else? What area of your life do you think you're most susceptible to overestimating your abilities? Let's discuss this openly. Let's challenge ourselves together. And if this video made you think differently about yourself and others, subscribe to the channel, because we're just getting started exploring the hidden mechanisms of the human mind, the biases that control us, the illusions that blind us, the truths that set us free. Before you go, the next video is waiting for you. It dives even deeper into the psychology of self-deception, into the ways we lie to ourselves without even knowing it. Click it, watch it, question everything, because the moment you stop questioning is the moment you become trapped. And I don't want that for you. I want you awake. I want you aware. I want you free.